without further ado, guy's been kicking ass. And I love this guy, man. Guys, check out Birds 365. You never know when Big Z's going to be on the air, barking out another legendary move like A.J. Dillon or something like Joshua Ichuacho Ucha. Anybody like that, Big Z's going to give you the skinny on what's going on. And without further ado, here he is, my boy, Big Z, Zander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills? How's my audio today? I got the AirPods working instead of my mic.
You look good, dude. It's all good. Let me guess.
Cool.
Where are you on the French Riviera right now?
Yeah,
vacation
French Riviera. Actually, I just met with Jeffrey Lurie. He's working on finally giving Big Sills some access. He's instructed Bob Lang to stop the coup on Big Sills. So once I end up here, I'll go and talk to Jeff. We'll eat some caviar and shrimp, and we'll go about our business.
Hey, man, I listened to you this morning, and I was listening to Les. You get where I'm coming from now? Look at the teams in the NFC East right now. The Cowboys are going nowhere. The New York Giants don't have a quarterback. It's March 21st. Washington's making as much noise as they possibly can. There's still a 25 or 30-point difference in team between those two teams, in my opinion. I mean, so if the Eagles get this, Zander, I think, and I agree with Les on this, they took a step back this year on the roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Nobody can say that there's more questions and there's less talent today, right now, with the unknown. However, I don't think the rest of the league, especially the rest of the NFC, think about this. They're not close to them, even with these step backs. And Zander, with 20 picks coming up in the next 2 years, if you don't catch that team now, game over.
Well, they got to hit on these picks. I mean, you got to hit on the picks. But look, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think the other teams have done a lot. And to be honest with you, I don't like what Washington did that much. I mean, they signed Javon Kinlaw for $15 million a year. I don't love him. I like the Tunsil move. He's a little older. I mean, he was people are talking about him like they just got Lane Johnson II over there. I'm like, all right, Laramie Tunsil's a good player. He's not that good. So, I mean, I like what they did, but they're not as good as the Birds. The one thing is, the one thing you could say, I think, objectively about the Eagles this offseason is you could say they won the Super Bowl with the defense, and the defense was the thing that they decided to redo. Is that going to pay off for you? Was that the right move? Was it the right time to do that? Maybe they didn't feel like they had as many foundational pieces on that side of the ball in terms of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Slay, some of those guys. But that's the truth. I mean, I watched them mic'd up the other night from the Super Bowl the Eagles put out. I didn't even realize they put one out, by the way. And, I was quickly reminded in that game that the reason that you had the chance to get ahead early in that game was because of the defense. It was because of the defense. Remember, the first touchdown was great. You moved the ball to Jahan Dotson, then you had to push in. Then you had the field goal. Then you had Cooper DeJean's pick six, 17-0. Then you had Zach Bond's pick that turned the ball over inside your own 10 or 15, wherever it was. So you kind of got – the defense was the catalyst to everything that happened last year. And look, they went into it saying, we're going to rebuild that thing, and you could maybe question whether that was the right move, but I happen to think it was the right move because of the players they had over there. I don't think Milton Williams deserved $26 million. I just don't. Not here. No. I think he deserved it. That's the wrong word. I don't think he was the right guy for here for that price. So I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying I could see a guy like you or Jason Cole or, Les Bowen that we had on saying, let's see how this works out. I understand that.
You think there's another move coming up with Howie here? Do you think there's a splash move this offseason, or do you not think that that's in the cards this year and that they're pretty status quo and that if there is a move, it'll be moved in the draft when it comes to moving up or down in the draft and not going out and getting some type of free agent sign, making a trade, putting some of those assets up to try to bring a quality safety in or maybe even another corner? Are all their moves coming up in the draft?
I think so. I think so just because they're trying to get cheap. So, like, if you're talking about a move, like, what kind of move are you talking about? I see Bob Brown talking about Trayvon Walker. I mean, so here's the thing with Trayvon Walker. He's been good, hasn't been exceptional. He's been good, hasn't been exceptional. He's got a huge upside. He fits the mold of the Eagles wanting young players in the room, so it makes sense. But are you now going to trade? Let's say I saw Bob. I saw what you DM me in terms of the trade. I didn't like your trade, Bob. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, let's say you pick swap. Let's say you trade the first, you get back a third or something like that. I don't know what you would get. I don't know what you'd have to send for Trayvon Walker. It's not nothing. So you're going to send that asset. Then you're going to pay Trayvon Walker what? $30 million?
Yeah.
$34 million?
Yeah.
Is he worth that?
No.
And then next year you're going to pay Carter 40, and then you're going to pay Nolan Smith 25.
No.
Like, I don't know if they're going to do that because of that reason. You think about some of those contracts they have coming up. I think their most value right now is by drafting a good player at the edge or on the defensive line. It's going to be Walter Nolan, in my opinion. That's who I like. I think that's the guy the Eagles should like because that solidifies your defensive line next to Jalen Carter for a long time, regardless of what you do with Jordan Davis or Moro Ojomo, and probably continue to boost the edge. I don't dislike what they've done at the edge. I'm not sitting here telling you it's all world, but the interior of our D-line is all pro level with Jalen Carter. So if you're going to continue to build up that interior, I think you can get away with having – I mean, think about it. Josh Sweat was a good player. Was Josh Sweat – I mean, yeah, he was good. He wasn't a headliner like John calls him. He says he was a headliner. Trayvon Walker would be a headliner. You can get – if Emmanuel Uche that you call him, and Azeez Ojulari, can they combine for 8 sacks?
I don't think you can dismiss those guys like this, though. I mean, would you not agree outside of Carter? Milton and Josh are the best D linemen they had. I mean, you're talking now.
Were.
I mean,
yeah,
they're your best guys. I mean, those were impact football players just by the amount of deals that they got. I mean,
yeah, but who ruined games? It was Jalen Carter. I'm not saying those guys didn't have a part in that. I'm not saying that, but I think they're more replaceable than we think. That's
how
what
about
I'm saying.
this? Okay, how about this then? Don't you think Slay had a lot to do with the success of Jalen Carter? And I'll tell you why. If you're locking down a corner back there and you're locking down a wide receiver and you're not getting that ball out in time, and that quarterback's got to hold that football back there,
right?
You think replacing Slay, I'm not saying you do, is going to be that easy over there in that CB1. Now they're going to throw over Q on that side of the ball. Let's just say cornerback 2. Hey, dude, when you got good corner play, which you did this past season, don't you think that helps your D-line too? And holding the football and the quarterback has to hold the ball for them to be able to get back there?
Absolutely, it does. Last year's Eagles team was a perfect complementary football team, right?
Yep.
Think about it. The offense helped the defense, and then even in the micro, like the secondary helped the front, and that's obviously how football works. But last year was really a perfect clicking of it on all cylinders, and to recreate that will be hard. There's no doubt about it. It will be hard to do, even if you get great players. It will still be hard to do because great players don't immediately assume that you're going to do everything right or you're going to win every game or you're going to make every right play. So I keep saying it's about the right players. It's about get the right players in the room. If they think Trayvon Walker's the right player, shoot, go for it. But I wouldn't say that that's going to be the fix all, for everything. But I like Moro Ojomo, by the way. I like him a lot. Dude, he had major pressure on Mahomes in that Super Bowl. I mean, even in that, there was one play in that Super Bowl that BG came to the sideline. He's juicing up Moro Ojomo for a big play. So he can play that guy. I like what he's going to be. I'm not sweating Milton. You do have to get some pressure off the edge, though. No doubt. But maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll go round 1 draft. Maybe they won't go Walter Nolan. Maybe they go Shamar Stewart or James Pierce or somebody like that.
I want to do this exercise here with you, Zander, about the guys that I was going to go over with here and how I see your guys right now on March 21st here. I mentioned this with Hurts on the offensive side. I'd love to see him more under center, continuing to set the pass protections. I think he'll be better this year at that. Continue to improve on his reading of defenses, utilizing the tight end position a little bit more. But other than that, again, it's just improving and getting better. I mean, Guy is a Super Bowl MVP. I mean, I'm just saying, continuing. Hey, the conversation, Brady used to say it all the time. What was the number one thing I used to do in the offseason? Was continuing to get better,
Yep.
continuing to read defenses and evolve because of, believe me, there's 31 other defensive coordinators out there that have game tape on Jalen Hurts right now that are figuring out and trying to figure out ways to slow him down like Wink Martindale told them. Remember what Jalen told you? I asked Wink Martindale what my biggest problem was. You know what Wink told him in 23 after that season ended? I knew you weren't running. That right there in a nutshell created what Jalen had and what that offense was. Remember, he wasn't running late because they weren't calling them running plays. So
Right.
to me, again, it's the continuing of the evolving of him as a football guy.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree for sure. Yeah, 100%. I think that's got to continue to evolve. I mean, those are, if you think about it, that's the next step on any of these young dual threat quarterbacks is they're so athletically gifted on the field that they're able to make up for all the loss, all the anytime a play breaks down or something like that. If you think about guys like Stafford or Brady or even Jared Goff, like, dude, when that they can't move, like they can't run away from 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 guys, 280-pound guys running 4.7s and 4.8s. I mean, they can't run away from them. So if they didn't process the defense at the start of their career, they had zero chance at success. It's a lot different with the dual threat guys. And Jalen I think he has made major strides. I mean, even rewatching some of the Super Bowl, he walked up to that line of scrimmage so many times and identified what was going on. And like you said before, that's not an easy defense to do that on.
No.
All right. That's not on,
That was his best game I've ever seen.
That's not a
play.
Sean Desai defense. Right?
No. That was easily one of the best.
So.
That was easily one of his best performances against one of the top, if not the top coordinator in the game, and how he absolutely just took that defense apart. I thought he was exceptional in that football game. This is what I got for AJ here. Continued success. I'd love to see him again more in the slot a little bit. Maybe drop him over there at the wide receiver slot a little bit. See what he could do against some of those safeties to get him moving. I'd like for them to move him around more than to just be stationed out there on that left wide receiver spot on that Y. I'd like to have them move him around and be a little more versatile. Because if he's your go-to guy, Zander, when you want to move him around, get mismatches instead of just having him out there as, again, he's a decoy or they're going to him. Well, put him in that slot a little bit. See what he does against safeties.
They haven't really showed a propensity to want to do that at all. I mean, they've kind of fallen in love with
that. I'm talking about evolving the offense here, though.
I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying they seem to have fallen in love with, all you got to do. Basically, what they're doing right now is it's pretty simple, but they walk up. Jalen identifies the coverage. If they have man coverage on the outside, it seems like they're going AJ Brown out there, and that's what they're doing. So I would like to see the evolution, but I do think it's a little overrated, Sills. I'm not going to lie. I do think, John talks with this all the time. He's like, everybody falls in love with these words like motion. And what does that mean? Right. And I kind of agree with him where he's like, every team's going to have a different look and different things are going to work on different teams, but adding motion is not just going to fix your offense. I mean, so it could be a factor. It could be something somebody uses, but that's not the way the team is built. And Jalen doesn't seem to have none of his offenses have ever seemed to have a lot of that. So I don't think they're going to go to that a lot, but I will say, I think they're going to have to evolve the offense somehow because teams are going to come into this year, so focused on the running game. What are the Eagles going to do to counter it? And it's going to come on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts in the passing game. I think they're more than equipped to do it. I mean, they did it in the Super Bowl. They did it versus the Commanders. They did it every time. They did it versus the Steelers. Every time they needed to do it last year, they did it. So I'm not saying they're not going to do it, but I think they're going to have to do it more often this year.
Who plays right guard? Does John have anybody that they're leaning to? I mean, who's the guy?
To this.
I know they want Tyler Steen to win it, but he couldn't a year ago. I mean, who plays right guard?
So listen to this. John brought this up, and I thought this was a good perspective. And this was just him speculating. This wasn't any inside info or anything. But he said, I'm thinking about that Kenyon Green trade, and I'm paraphrasing here on Johnny Mac, but I'm thinking about that Kenyon Green trade, and then I'm thinking about Tyler Steen. And Tyler Steen was drafted as a tackle. He played tackle at Vanderbilt for 3-4 years, and then he transferred to Alabama and played his last year of eligibility at Alabama and was a tackle every single year. So he's saying you lost Fred Johnson. Steen wasn't necessarily able to win the guard job. Now you got Kenyon Green and Stoutland U. You still have Trevor Keegan. Is there a chance that they kick Steen into the swing tackle role and then try and have Trevor Keegan or Kenyon Green win that guard job, or potentially draft a player for that guard job? Now, maybe if Steen won the guard job, they would default to that. But if Steen lost, he could be your swing tackle. I could see that.
Do you think he's aggressive enough to play that tackle position?
I don't see it.
I don't either.
I'm just saying
I
background
know.
wise, maybe,
No,
like maybe it's a
it's a
Stoutland thing where
good.
he's like,
It's a good
right.
thought. Like they moved Becton inside, they put Steen outside. I get it. He's a good athlete. He picks his feet up. He's got decent feet, but dude, if you heard Stink when he was on last week, you got to have exceptional feet. And I think he's got good feet. I don't think he has exceptional feet. I don't think you have the guard in the building yet to play the right
That's
guard.
fair. That's possible. That's possible.
I just don't think they have the guy. Now, I think they're going to be fine with it because it's been an interchangeable piece. So let me go to right tackle here. When does Father Time catch Lane?
I don't see it. Not this year.
I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, he had one of his best seasons ever.
Concerned about Father Time at 35?
I mean, I think you're always wondering it, right? I mean, 35 is like ancient in the NFL. But tackles seem to be able to play longer. You remember, Whitworth played a long time. Obviously, Jason Peters, played a long time. There's plenty of guys that do.
Trent Williams right now is 40.
Yeah, I'm going to say, how old is Trent Williams? Is he 40?
He's 40.
I mean, that's pretty incredible. So I think Lane, based on what he's shown, has not showed any sort of regression. I mean, last year was one of his best years ever, graded out wise, and I don't think he's slowing down at all. In fact, I think he could go 3-4 more years if he wanted to. I don't know if he's gonna, but 40. I think he could. Yeah, I think he could.
Let me go to the defensive side here. You mentioned Moro Jomo. This is what I say to him. Can he fulfill the production of Milton Williams? Will he show the versatility of Milton Williams? By the way, March 21, I don't know. He's been productive, but it's a lot different, Zander, being the co-pilot than being the pilot. When you're the guy who's the starting guy. So that's still, again, now, do you feel comfortable? Because Vic loves the kid. We all have liked him for 3 years. The kid Booker's pretty decent too. I mean, he's a good player. So, I mean, that probably position is probably the less of the guys that you're replacing. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I do. I do agree. I mean, I think you can. I think you're positioned there. And the other thing is, Sills, you drafted an All-Pro at defensive tackle. You're not going to keep with, by the way, based on our conversation on Jordan Davis the other day, if that's the style you're going to go, that you want to pay big money to have a nose so guys can defend the run, you can't pay another tackle on top of those two guys. You have to have some sacrifice somewhere. There has to be some spots that are cheap production. And I think you're positioned well to do it there. And it makes sense. I mean, you just can't go down. You can't have everything, right?
No.
I mean, so moving on from that doesn't concern me too much. Now, Mora was pretty good, dude. 400 plus snaps last year. That's not tiny. That's not a full sample size, but it's not tiny.
It's a nice sample size.
Yeah, and he was pretty good. So I'm pretty confident, actually, in Mora Jomo. I like him. He was meeting with the did you see that? He met with I don't know if it was like the Nigerian prince or something after the Super Bowl. Yeah. I don't know how it works over there, but I saw that. I thought that was pretty cool.
The more I talk about Jordan Davis, the more I'm talking myself more and more into a 3-year contract for the kid. Now, listen to what by the way, all super chats will be read at the end. Please hit the like button here. This is what I said about Jordan Davis right now on March 21st. I think he has to define his role more. And what I mean by that is embrace it. Don't worry about being a free technique. Don't worry about any pass rushing. Don't worry about any of that. Define your role more. be more comfortable in your role. If you're a first and second down guy, guess who I had a conversation with last night? Vince Wilfork. You know what he said? He thought for the first 2 years that he was not living up to where they drafted him in the first round out of Miami, because I think he only had like 19 sacks, 11, 13 sacks in his entire 10-plus year career. He won 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay? And Bill Belichick went to him, and I go, how did they coach you? And Vince goes, they came to me and said, your job's not to rush the passer. If you get there with 5 or 6 sacks one year, God bless everything. He goes, your role is to make sure the entire integrity of the defense doesn't fall apart because we can't stop the run. You have to embrace it more. Stop telling him. I told Clint Hurt this last night. He goes, I told him that at the second half of the season. Don't worry about getting pass rushing.
Right.
It picked up in the playoffs, his pass rushing.
He had a sack in the Super Bowl.
And don't you think his role as the nose got better as the season got towards the end? I think Clint has coached him way better than Tracy did, because Tracy and all them were trying to make him into a 3 technique, which he's not. He's a nose or a 1 technique or a shade. And so I said, Vince told me earlier in the day, New England told him to embrace the first and second down. Don't worry about the third down shit. And I'm like, that's great advice for a big fella like that. Especially,
so are you coming full circle on my boy Jordan Davis?
Yeah.
You really are.
Because
hey, Twiz isn't wrong here. Stills killed him. Now the Sileo eyes dummies are gonna start liking JD now.
Hey, you know why? Because they moved.
Funny.
Because I'll tell you why, Twiz. They smartened up and coached him right, and not like fucking me when they brought a guy in and asked me to play a fucking different position, and I fell on my face. They're asking him now to do the things that are to his skill set. Read a book, kid. That's what
I don't think he's not taking shots at you. You had an extra cup of coffee before the show today. You were at a Red Bull or something.
It's called.
You started the show off. I was cracking up.
Hey, all I'm telling you is right now, it's called having an opinion. That's what Big Sills is. Okay.
Yes, it is. You are excellent at having an opinion.
Yeah, hey, Twiz, you're not wrong, though, man. I've come full circles on the kid here, man, because you know why? It's important to have – if you don't have a good nose, hey, Twiz, you're right. You don't have a good nose, dog, you can't play, man. So, dude, but here's still my problem, though. 18-5? 18-5 and 40 next to him. I don't see that. I just don't see that money, man. I don't – do you really see the Eagles paying $60 million? No, $60 million and 2 dudes.
Yeah, and $20 million of it is to a guy that plays 20% of your snaps. It's hard to imagine, but it makes sense. You know, the business side of it doesn't make sense, but the football side of it makes complete sense, wanting to have him around. It's a tough thing to gauge, but we'll see. I think they're going to go cheap at the rest of the tackles. So I thought they might go Walter Nolan in round 1. And they're going to pay JD and they're going to pay Jalen. That's what they're going to do. Nolan Smith, he's next year too. What are you doing with him? If he has 12 sacks, what's he getting paid?
Less than what Josh Sweat will, that's for sure. Right defensive end.
I cannot wait. Everybody get ready for the day that Nolan Smith signs a bigger contract than Josh Sweat, so I can tell Big Sills and John to F off.
Watch this one here.
Wait, we still have the working bet. We got to come up with something because
we will.
I'm telling you again that Nolan Smith will have a better year than Josh Sweat this year. 100% guarantee it. Take it to the bank.
He's on a better he won't have better stats, but he's on a better team.
He will. Yes, he will.
Okay.
Well, he'll have better stats.
Here's what I say about Jalen Carter.
100% guaranteed.
Continue to see. That's the Italian in him. He's got to get the fucking last word in there. You go. See Carter here? Hey,
oh, man.
This is what I say to Carter. Continue to dominate, continue to get better, stay in shape, and continue to lead. I like him a lot, obviously, since day one. Let's go to your boy Nolan. Will linebacker. This is my cliff note on him. Health, durability is my only concern. I think he's shown that he can play. He plays with a tenacity that everyone wants. he's a little bit of a schwimp, but he plays. Well, I mean, Vic says he's undersized too, but he plays with a tenacity, man. So again, don't you agree? Health and durability are the only real concerns. Now that's a guy you want to. That's a guy you want to continue to improve and coach because he has the ability to play in this league. But those are my only concerns about him.
That's fair. I think those are fair. I mean, he hasn't, he's not particularly the biggest dude. So how's that going to hold up? I don't know if he's M. Reyes size, but
no, he's
why
not
are you beating up
5'2".
on M. Reyes?
Yeah, he gets shot out of a cannon. M. Reyes.
Well, are you mad because M. Reyes throttled you in front of your own audience?
M. Reyes throttled me. So, hey, M.
Yes.
Reyes, you need a Tokyo phone book to look Big Sills in the eye. Don't worry about it, Junior.
I looked Big Sills in the eye.
I know.
Big Sills was like, "Holy shit, what the hell?"
I couldn't believe it, man. Here's Zach Bond. You think this guy's a one-year wonder, or does he do it again?
No, he's not a one-year wonder. Go watch him play, man. He is not a one-year wonder. He is fundamentally, technically sound. He smothers the ball. He's smart. He communicates. He knows where to be. And the other thing about him is his history as coming off the edge aids him tremendously in the run. If you watch teams try and run on the Eagles last year, where Zach Baum was in those plays, he was incredible in those plays. So I have no fear of Zach Baum falling off. Zero.
And plus, when I hear him talk, he's not real great behind the mic, but you know what I do love about it? He's like the comic guy. He kind of like really fits in, man. And I mean, he's a really good football player. All right, here's the Kobe Dean. Health and durability, another guy, right?
Yeah, agreed for sure on him.
All right, strong side linebacker, Bryce Huff. What is he? Who is he? What does he do? Does he do anything well?
No.
What is Bryce Huff? What is he?
He's got to be better because how can it be worse? I mean, shit, seriously. The only thing I would say about him is people have talked about there's no way you would move on from him. And I don't disagree because you don't get anything. You won't get an asset and you're going to eat money. You're going to lose money. So, but the one thing I would say is where's Vic Fangio on him? Because the one thing Vic showed us last year is if he likes you, he's going to play you. He doesn't care where you came from, where you were drafted, what position it says you play. He doesn't care. He's going to use you how he sees fit. The other thing is, if he doesn't like you, he's not going to use you. And he didn't like Bryce Huff very much. So what does Vic have to do differently this year? Or what does Bryce have to do differently this year for those two to work? Because right now they're oil and water, and I don't see it.
Boy, I'll tell you what I think he thinks of him. How was that active on the roster for the Super Bowl? I mean,
I guess the company line that they've been told is that he's
sitting out there and ticker tape was falling on him. Everybody. And you know where Bryce Huff was? He was in the fucking locker room, sucking on ice. And everyone
look
was
at this comment. Let's look at my boy Curtis. You agree with this? He says, Vic don't like Huff. Uchi is going to get more snaps.
Uchi Coochie is going to get more snaps.
Uchi. Wait, I don't even remember this guy's real name anymore because I've been listening to
Uchia or Uche.
Joshua Uche. Uche, that's what it is.
Yeah, Joshua Uche. The Joshua tree.
Wait, well, do you think he'll have more snaps than Huff?
I think everybody you signed outside that guy from New York, just a dude. Just a dude. So
was Zach Baum last year.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably hit on Reggie White with Emilio Acho Uchi Coochie Uchi Coo.
Oh my God, you sound like John McMullen. Well, the statistical probability of that is very low. Okay, I get it.
Well, it is.
The statistical probability of winning a Super Bowl is very low. Do I say that's never going to happen? I mean, shut up.
Look at these numbers. Guy with the fucking optimism off the parade route. I love it.
What do you mean? We just won a Super Bowl.
We're going to take Emilio Acho Uche, where everyone dumped on every one of these guys. And all of a sudden, just because they're wearing eagle green, all of a sudden they're turning into Hugh Douglas.
Wrong. Jason Cole is a voter for the Hall of Fame. And I heard him say yesterday that the Eagles and the Chiefs are neck and neck for the best franchises organizations in the NFL.
They are.
I'm not looking at it through an optimistic lens. I'm being realist. Right now, in the last 8 years, the Eagles have been one of the best organizations in football. I am betting that they're going to continue to be that because they have enough pieces in place to continue this run. I don't think I'm being overly optimistic. Being overly optimistic would say Mauro Jomo is going to be the greatest player on earth. Jordan Davis, pay him $18 million. Pay everybody. Bring everybody back. They're going to be the number one defense in the NFL again. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to improve at all because he's already the second coming, and we're good. That's being ridiculous. We're going to take a step back on defense. The team is in perfect spot to contend again. And our general manager's cooking right now. So if he cooks again this offseason, we're going to be in a good spot.
There you go. That's what I like, baby. Build that bitch up here. Left cornerback, cue ball. We got Quinyon Mitchell moving over to, he's taking on the top receivers. Last year he took on receiver number 2 most of the time in games. You think that's a different cup of tea when you got to be the guy and you got to play like Slay?
It is. But Q's ready for it.
He is.
I mean, Q had some tough competition last year on that schedule. He didn't play up against all trash can wide receivers. He had some real battles last year that I thought he earned his stripes on. It's the one thing for me to say, hey, man, you got pedigree. You're a good player. You're going to go ahead and do it. It's another thing to earn your stripes. Play versus great receivers, lock them up, do things like that. And I think Q's earned it. I think I will say it's probably fair to expect a little bit of a learning curve for him to figure out how to be the main guy out there in the secondary. I think that's probably a lot different than having a guy like Slay out there. But I think Q will be all right. I think he clearly has the traits and the skill set and the mindset to do it, but we'll see how he handles it. I think he'll be all right.
How much of the loss of Slay in the locker room and in practice Monday through Saturday, when those guys and those young players all have questions, is going to be a miss when all those guys don't have that one veteran guy to go to back there? Do you think they need a veteran corner back there to kind of for these young guys to still go to? Because you saw Cooper DeJean against Adam Thielen. I wouldn't put Adam Thielen in the top 30 wide receivers in the league. No. He schooled his ass just by being
That's a savvy guy, though. That's a savvy guy.
It is. And he's a great route runner. Mm-hmm. He runs his routes. And, I mean, do you think they need, instead of getting in the draft younger, do you think you need another experienced guy? Like, I saw something out there. One of the top guys that's still out there is Asante Samuel Jr. He's only 24 years old.
Guy can't tackle. I don't want him. Stay in the AFC. You're not built for Philly. Can't tackle.
They said the same shit about Isaiah Rodgers.
You're going to come to Philly and play in Philly in a cold weather town in an outdoor place and play in the NFC late in January?
10 yards off the ball, man. I mean, they said the same shit about Isaiah. Isaiah was a good player.
Maybe as a swing corner. Maybe. But they got a Dory, so I don't see him going down that road.
Okay. All right.
I just don't. And by the way, just to answer on Slay, I'll tell everybody in the chat right now, me, Stills, John, I don't really care what anybody's opinion is of Slay anymore, because how many times have I heard, he talks like that? I listened to Devontae Smith on a podcast last night basically break down why when he came into the league and Darius Slay watched one single route, and every single time he ran something in practice, Slay was like, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? I know what you're doing here. He called out every single route. So a guy like Devontae Smith, who I view as a true professional, as a master of his craft, as a guy that works hard for it, is an excellent route runner, tells me Darius Slay immensely helped me in my progression as an athlete. That opinion is going to matter more to me than what I think of Slay's conversation on the podcast. I'm sorry, it just is. I like Darius Slay. I'll always respect what he did for Philly. Great corner, one of our best corners here, definitely in the last decade. And I think he's going to be missed. I do. I think he's going to be missed. I think he has some stuff he does that, I get it. But overall, he's going to be missed for sure.
Boy, you bring a story up here that I remember, like, getting into a pass rush lane, and I remember Randy White, the legendary Hall of Fame defensive tackle for the Cowboys, goes, "Why are you rushing head up?" And I went, "Well, he goes, you're beat. Your first step, you're beat." And I went, "Well, how do I get into him?" He goes, this is a game of angles. It's not a game of head up. Anytime you do something head up, you're beat on defense. Think about anything you do I'm sitting there listening to this. Everything I thought I fucking knew about bull rushing and pass rushing was thrown completely out the door when he goes angles, degrees of angles, all that shit that Slay was talking. Remember, I brought that up to you guys. Can you imagine being Q and having AJ Brown and Devontae Smith passing their knowledge on to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in practice Monday through Saturday, on how important that was on not getting turned around? You're right. I think that's a lot of experience back there that you're going to miss when it comes to not having him back there. What are they going to do at strong safety? Are you
That's
just
a good question.
Yeah, what are they? Christian McCullum's back there, and what are you going to do?
It's one spot they haven't addressed either. You know, like corner, you could argue they want Keeley, but they brought in Adoree. You know, you could argue they want, offensive guard, but they brought it, or Steam, but they brought in some others. You know, they brought in edge rushers to challenge Jalen Hunt. You know, they haven't addressed it. So I don't know. Maybe a draft early will happen. Maybe they like Sidney Brown a lot. I mean, I don't know. The guy plays with his hair on fire. He's physical. A lot of traits about him that I like. I just don't know if you can rely. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how big of a drop off you're going to have there from CJ Gardner-Johnson. Now, CJ wasn't the best in coverage, but I don't know how good Sidney Brown's going to be in coverage. I mean, it's not all safeties are great in coverage, especially a guy like CJ who's more of a ball hawk, playmaker, thumper type of dude. So I think you're going to have a big miss there. But with Q moving over to that side, it makes me feel a little bit better about that patch of the defense that we've been talking about. But again, I mean, it's a lot of moving parts. There's no doubt about it. You have a lot of moving parts on this defense. So how will they prevail? Do you think it's going to be Sidney Brown? I mean, have you seen anything from him?
No, I think they're going to have to address that in the draft. I think they're going to give Tristan McCullum an opportunity to win that. But since you made that point that they're going to move Q over to the right cornerback, the entire left side of the defense is this now. Unknown at left corner, unknown at safety. How does that affect Reed Blankenship's play when you've got a completely different crew on the complete left side of him, and you've got Q over on the right side? And if you don't get the pass rush and the pressure with the new guys, how does that affect that entire secondary now? Because look, Reed on each side of him, he had CJ and he had Slay, and he's in the middle of that.
Right.
How do you think you're going to play? It's like telling me how good Becton's going to play when you got Lane and Juergens on each side of him. So when you're now Reed Blankenship and the entire left side of that defense, or how about this, the safety you bring in or the safety you put in there, you're going to have a new corner and you're going to have Reed, and who's playing that safety? And the other guys moved over to the other side. I think that's going to be what do you think is going to be tougher to replace, the edge rushers or the secondary guys? Because you're moving a guy, and then what do you actually – here's the other question. What are you doing with Cooper? Are you keeping him where he is? Are you sold that – because let me tell you, if you don't move him now, you'll never move him.
Yeah, I agree. But it does look like Cooper's going to be back in the slot. That's what it looks like right now. I mean, I heard him on a podcast saying he wants to stay in the slot. I don't know if that's his preference or his agent or whatever, but I think that's what's going to happen there. And you bring up a good point. I mean, you lost 3 guys on the line in Sweat and Milton and Brandon, but you also lost 3 secondary guys as well in Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson. And who am I missing?
You miss Isaiah.
Isaiah. So you got a swing, you got your starting corner, and you got a starting safety back there. So, and by the way, it's changing because Quinyon's now in a new role. Keeley's going to be in a new role behind Quinyon as number 2, presumably. Everybody's moving. So, like, in a way, it's new for Quinyon, too, because he's on the left now. So, probably not that new. He'll probably be fine. I'm just saying, you do have a lot of moving parts back there. And you talked about how complimentary they were last year. I mean, it's going to be tough to recreate.
It's different steps, though, when you play the left corner and right corner. One foot goes back, the opposite goes on the other side. It's a whole different footwork on that side.
Yeah, right. I feel like corners are a little better at it because think about routes, right? I mean, think about route running. They're obviously very athletic guys. And, route running is obviously requires your hip mobility both ways and stuff like that. So I feel like he'll be better at it, but you're not wrong.
Remember where quarterbacks are right-handed. They go to the right side of the field.
Yeah, it's
Hurts
true.
is notorious on that, going to the right
Yes, he
side of
loves
the
the
field.
right side of the field.
Okay, so most quarterbacks who are right-handed don't throw the opposite side of the field. That's why that corner 2 guy doesn't get as much money as the corner right guy does, because that guy's seeing most of the top routes going towards his way. And also, Zander, with those new holes you have in the secondary and maybe question marks on your pass rushing, how does that middle of that zone and that too high safety with Zach Bond, is it going to get bigger because you have less of experience at the safety position and the corner? Does he have to play more off the ball? Does he have to play deeper until he gets his footing, until you find out who that guy is? How does that affect Zach Bond's play?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. And in front of him, right? I mean, you have to change in front of him with Milton and Sweat going on that right side of the defensive line, and you have potential secondary changes behind him. Now, I look at Bond and say, look, you got $15 million as a linebacker. You were the All-Pro last year. You got to be the stabilizing force, right? I mean, you have to be the crutch, the foundation that those guys can lean on. You can't rely on Sidney Brown. You can't rely on Moro Ojomo and Jalen Hunt. Okay, they got to rely on you, and that's how it has to be. So Zach Bond, you remember the conversation you had? Was it Phil Simms or Boomer Esiason who said Jalen Hurts has to learn to play with his contract?
Boomer.
Zach Bond has to learn to play to his contract. You're no longer the scrap heap guy. All right. You're the $15 million first team all-pro linebacker. Act like it. Make everybody around you better. Make sure your secondary guys who are new to the starting lineup know where to be, what they're doing. Make sure you communicate with them. Make sure you get them up. If Jalen Hunt is relying on you to be behind him, be behind him. He's got to learn to play with that contract a little bit. I think he will, but I'm just saying, I think he's going to have to take a bigger role.
There's going to be a lot of questions and answers as we go into minicamp, training camp, and we go into these OTAs. So, all right, we're going to get to the supers here in a second. Please hit the like button here. You know what we got on Saturday, right?
No, what we got?
John Calipari versus Rick Pitino, baby.
On
yes. Saturday.
Yes, I watched St. John's last night. I started.
I watched Arkansas knock off Kansas yesterday.
Yeah, so in my studio at home where I do all my shows from, you guys know my studio, obviously my backdrop. That's where I watch TV too, because I have a little TV in the corner over there. So, sometimes I got to get out of there. I was falling asleep in my desk chair last night at 11 o'clock watching St. John's. I'm like, all right, I got to go up to bed. So I didn't catch it all, but I did watch some basketball. Alabama just won today.
Dude, Alabama's good. Were they a 2 seed?
Yeah. How does it feel that we're now a football school and a basketball school?
Hang on for a second. Who would have thought this? Auburn and fucking Bama are number 1 and number 2
and 2 seeds. It's crazy, bro.
NCAA tournament.
It's wild.
Dude, what happened to the ACC? They only had 4 teams going into the tournament. The SEC had 14 teams get in.
Missouri got bounced last night. I was looking for my boy. We have one of our viewers is a Missouri guy, and he was ragging on me because Missouri beat Alabama in basketball earlier in the year, and they got bounced last night by like Drake.
Again, man. Don't you agree, Zander? Like the tournament, the first week and the weekend, it gives you draw. Is there another sporting event outside the NFL that you think tops the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I do.
Which one?
I like the tournament, but I'm a hockey guy, but I think the Stanley Cup Finals are one of the best sporting events you'll ever see. It's my favorite trophy.
Can win the cup,
huh?
A 7 seed can win the cup in the NHL
every single year. That's why I brought that up, because people always say that's what's cool about the NCAA tournament. Well, hockey fans know.
Yes,
there is never a year in the NHL ever where the winner is guaranteed. Ever. It doesn't matter how good your squad is. There's never a guarantee. And I love that about hockey. Now, you could say that about every sport, but who's winning the MLB World Series this year?
I don't care.
The Dodgers. You see what they did?
The money. Yes, the money.
They're not going to lose. So I like the Stanley Cup. Speaking of the World Series, I love the Fall Classic. I love playoff baseball. Always have. Always will. I always go to playoff games every year. I've gone to Phillies playoff games. every year the last couple of years. Actually, I just got a call from the station yesterday, and I think your boy Big Z might be joining the National Football Show, not this Monday coming up, but the following Monday from Citizens Bank Park, because it's the Phillies home opener and they kick off at 3. And I think I'm going to be at the game. So I might join the show by phone from the Phillies home opener. Yeah, from Citizens Bank.
Dope, man. I tell you, for me,
Yeah.
I just think there's too many. I think there's too many wild cards. I think you diminished the regular season with that. I know you're trying to keep everybody engaged in it so that you can stay longer as a fan, that you can have an opportunity to make the postseason. But I think the postseason gets a little bit watered down until you get to the divisional round. And to me, the divisional round, and then you get into, again, the ALCS and the NLCS, and then you get into the World Series. That's when it does get heated up. When I grew up, dude, I wasn't a football fan. I was a baseball fan.
I was a basketball fan.
I was a Yankee fan.
I'm going to revive my Sixers fandom, even when they're at their low right now, because I love basketball too much. And I want to be a fan, but the Sixers have truly made it hard. Like I was a devoted process guy. I loved Embiid. I went to the game on Christmas Day one year when we had Ben Simmons and Joel. Like we were big. I was a big Sixers guy, and they have made it. It's agonizing turning on a Sixers game. I get upset. I'm like, I don't want to watch it. It puts me in a bad mood. So I'm trying to revive my Sixers fandom.
Hey, when that Embiid basket, when that went around the rim against Toronto, that had to be the highest moment of Embiid's career so far in the postseason. If he makes that shot, it's probably a completely different, because Toronto went on to win the
coulda, shoulda, woulda
NBA championship that year.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Twiz says, thought you were a Yankee Doodle. So I've always been a Yankees fan because my dad grew up. He was a massive Yankees fan when he was a kid. It was the only station he got.
I'm a huge Yankee fan.
He was a Yankees fan. So I grew up as a Yankees fan, but I'm a Philly guy, and I've always loved the Eagles and the Philly and the Sixers. So I've always said to myself, Twiz, I'm a Yankee fan at heart because there's a picture of me at the 2009 World Series with my dad and my brother, and I'm decked out in Yankee gear, and they're versing the Phillies. So I said, because that picture exists, if they ever play, I have to root for the Yankees. But the Phillies are in the NL, and they've always been my NL team. So I like rooting for the Phils. Look, Twiz, I love when Philly does well, man. I want to see Philly. As much as I hate the Flyers, I'd like to see the Flyers be good too.
How about this, Twiz? I used to go and I used to sneak over to that place, Shea Stadium, and I could watch this, Twiz. Boone behind the plate, or if Carlton was on the hill, you had McCarver behind the plate. You had Luzinski. You had Maddox, you had Johnstone, you had Boa, you had Schmidt. I think Lundberg was in the rotation too. McGraw was your closer. Dude, I know that whole team, man. I mean, they used to come in and used to be Seaver Carlton at Shea Stadium. Zander, you love baseball, right? Well, you could get out of that game with Carlton pitching for the Phillies and Seaver for the Mets back in the day. That thing's over in 2 hours and 5 minutes.
I believe it.
Because they went 9.
Yeah.
They went 9 innings. Let's read some of these supers. We got Farzad at the bottom of the hour here.
I apologize for my audio if it's not great today. I'm on the
good, bro. We're good. It's Friday, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. What does that mean? Anthony Wilson, what's up, bro? They are trading Huff to San Francisco. Salah likes him.
If Salah liked him, why'd he let him walk out the building in New York?
For what, Anthony? A ham sandwich? Hold the bread?
A ham sandwich.
Ham sandwich, hold the cold cut. That's better. Kyle Kokorski. Sills and Zander, I'll be at the draft next year in Pittsburgh. Nice, Kyle. I might have to join you there.
Man,
that's like 7.5 for me.
Holy cow. This year it's at Lambeau.
Yeah.
And this year or next year it's at Pittsburgh. That's dope.
What's that stadium now? Didn't they just change the name? It's like a Krieger or something?
I'd like to see the name. Yes. I'd like to see the draft back in Philly. I'd like to see how he do that fucked up dance of his walking back up there. Whatever that thing was, getting out there on the stage. Holy shit.
So give Howie a break. The guy's cooking right now.
Hey, dude, I'm going to give him a break. Hey, I'm going to give him a break, but Dancing with the Stars, I'm not.
Put him my super earlier. Not sure if you saw. I didn't. Q-Ball said earlier, most accomplished NFC quarterbacks: Hurts, Stafford, Purdy, Goff, JD, 5. Oh, and how about that
Yeah,
doofus Nick Wright stills? What a dope. 42 is GOAT, not DEI. Yeah,
yeah,
true. But
that was so stupid. But you know what they're doing now? They're trying to make Jackie Robinson into a talking point politically. When
yeah, and I'm not buying it. I don't want to buy into it either. Jackie Robinson's obviously a legend. But
no shit.
I agree with the most accomplished quarterbacks for sure.
Yeah, that's
Hurts,
exactly the list there
you could,
too.
I mean, let's be real, Q. Stafford's one. I mean, they both have one Super Bowl, and Stafford has a. How long has he been playing? I'm not trying to. It's not a knock on Jalen, but he's just needs more time. I mean, Stafford's got how many passing
Stafford's
yards?
got an under 500 record.
Yeah, but he's playing.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess Hurts
dude,
is more accomplished in terms of hardware.
wins,
Yes, he is. He is.
and and the most important wins.
All right, we got
Dude,
that. All right, all good. We got them all.
Hey, dude, you gotta pay Purdy. You gotta pay him.
San Francisco.
Well, here, what if
I've
Dak
been a
Prescott?
Purdy producer, but I don't like the sound
Wait a
of
minute.
that.
If Dak Prescott gets paid, what's Dak Prescott done better than Brock Purdy in San Francisco?
Yeah, but we're not going to start to compare people to Dallas. Those guys are dumb as a box of rocks. They don't
Yeah,
care at
but
all.
no, the salary you have to if you're a player. Your agent's
Yeah,
going
that's
to
true.
compare it. Your agent's going to go, that guy got 60.
He has
What
2
is he?
playoff wins in 9 years. Purdy's been to a Super Bowl.
He's 4-2 in the playoffs. There's only one other guy in the NFC that has a better
Hey,
record
look at this.
than Purdy.
Actually,
You know
shit, I'm
what?
not going to be able to pull it up
Jalen.
here. I wanted to show you guys this. I'm not going to be able to pull it up here, but I'll show it like this. Oh, damn it. Most playoff wins since 2000. Eagles are number 2 to the Patriots. Patriots have 30. Eagles have 20. Chiefs have 18. Ravens have 18. Packers 15. Steelers 15. Niners 14. Those are your top 7. And then all the way down at 26 between the Raiders and the Jaguars, and in the likes of the Bears, the Commanders, the Lions, the Dolphins, and the Browns. They have 4 playoff wins, the Dallas Cowboys, since 2000.
Not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. I just don't see. I mean,
it's a joke.
I think they're gonna be even worse than they were this past year. I just don't see it, dude. I mean,
no, they're getting Dak back. You can't be worse, dude. They had Cooper Rush starting last year.
They're getting Dak back. No O-line and no running back.
Yeah, but Dak is gonna come on. Cooper Rush.
Who's their other receiver? Who's the blocking for them?
You right now,
they just lost Zach Martin. Who's going to block for them?
Dude, they're going to be better with that.
Maybe because the NFC's not that hot.
They're going to be better because they're getting their quarterback back. It's simple.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure Dak's going to have a massive
Are you telling me right now that Cooper Rush is the equivalent to Dak Prescott?
I saw Sam Darnold win 14 games. Dak Prescott's never won 14 games.
Yo, Pumper, don't ever call me that again.
Elliot Spitzer Shore Parks. That guy fucking, hey, I don't know. I tell you, man. You talk about it. Come on,
yeah,
Paul.
well, definitely shady. They definitely don't get playoff wins. We just talked about that.
All right, Zander.
All right, let me go. You're driving me crazy now with that crap.
Hey, Emilio Ucho Acho. Hey, man, I'm sure he's going to have more sacks than what Josh.
If Emilio Ucho Acho gets how many sacks next year, you have to do something. 6, and you'll do what?
I don't know yet. We'll come up with that.
Not wearing Uche jersey because I'm not buying
it. Nolan Smith's stats next year: 32 tackles, 5 sacks.
Oh, stop.
And 3 TFLs.
12 sacks for Nolan next year.
That's it. How many?
12 for Nolan.
12. Oh my. Holy cow. Let me go. I'll talk to you later, Zander.
Later, dog. Appreciate you guys. Hope you all have a great weekend.
Make sure you guys please hit the like button. Farzetta's coming up next. Don't forget our great friend at Morgan & Morgan. #1 injury law firm in America, folks. We've been telling you now here over $20 billion in recovery for families across the country. Like right here in Pennsylvania, $650K was initially offered to a family in PA. They got $26 million in recovery. How about that? Also, a family down in Florida, $350,000 was initially offered. They got $12 million. If you're ever injured, please do me a favor and check out my friends at Morgan & Morgan. Again, the fee is free unless they win. For more info, go to forthepeople.com/Big Sills, pound law 529, or FOR, thepeople.com/Big Sills, or pound law 529. And do me a favor, tell them Big Sills sent you.